Hey everybody, it's Scott from Scott's Low Budget Projects. Today I'm going to be doing sort of a loose review on a couple of not quite budget projects, but these are two things I've been looking at for a while now, and I've decided that they'd be a good addition for my lawn here. I bought two Worx Landroid Vision Cloud mowers. One is a two-wheel drive model and one is a four-wheel drive model. I'm going to be reviewing the two-wheel drive model first, and I will be making a second video. So if you are interested in the four-wheel drive model, jump on to the second video, and I'll be reviewing that one next. I have some pre-recorded information that is listed on the Worx website, and the eBay link that I bought the first mower off of, and then the Home Depot link where I bought the four-wheel drive model from. So if it seems like very monotone, blah 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 kind of info, sorry, it's pre-recorded. I didn't want to do a script, so I figured it was just easier just to talk into a phone and hit record and just do it that way. That way I got all the key points and information about the mower out to you guys so you know what to look for. I will try to get into some more details on the more specifics of each mower, some of the issues I've had with them, and some of the pros that I like about them. Okay, let's get this video started, and we will start with the first one on this list. And we're gonna do some recorded audio here, so bear with me. Hopefully you can hear it. This is the product Worx WR320.1 Landroid Vision Cloud two-wheel drive robotic lawnmower. That mower right there. Half-acre model. Specifications and features. Vision AI meets RTK Cloud. By combining advanced AI with RTK Cloud precision, Landroid Vision's Cloud sees, understands, and maps your lawn down to an inch without the need for an on-site antenna. RTK Cloud positioning for satellite-guided moving with perfectly straight lines, accurate down to an inch. Vision AI assisted automatic mapping for fast wire-free setup. Advanced Vision AI that sees and understands every detail of your yard. Vision AI combined with VSLAM for confident navigation in shaded and complex areas. Cut to zero blade offset for minimal uncut edges. 24/7 anti-theft protection with continuous monitoring. Smart app control with multi-zone and schedule management. Weather adaptive automatic scheduling that adjusts mowing to real conditions. Slope handling up to 30%, which is 17 degrees, for challenging terrain. Electric cutting height adjustment from 1.57 to 3.54 inches. Powered by the PowerShare battery, compatible with all Worx cordless tools. Radio link connectivity for reliable full yard coverage, even in large or complex gardens. Lifetime free RTK cloud service at no extra cost. What's included with this mower? It comes with a charging station, a charger, a 20-volt battery rated at 5 amp hours. Comes with 8 spare blades. Comes with a hex key. Comes with screws, stakes, radio link, and 19.7 feet of no-go tape. Okay, well there's your general overview of that mower. Let the camera figure out where I am again. Move you back here so you're at a comfortable distance. Anyway, that is the, what do you want to call it, the online setup or whatever for this particular mower that I bought. This was the first one I bought. Bought it about a week and a half ago now. It is an okay mower. I will not say this is the best mower. The problem with the mower at my place is, and I'll give you a walk around of my, we'll call it my property. It's a rental property, but I'll give you a walk around of the place and I'll show you some of the trouble areas it has and some of the limitations if you're considering buying one of these. This is what you would call, I guess, an entry-level robot mower. at least from the Worx product line. And overall, not a bad mower. I actually like it. It does a pretty good job. It is not perfect. There are things that it can't do, and or doesn't do very good, which again we'll get into the four-wheel drive one in a separate video on where that one kind of outshines this one a little bit. There are limitations due to it being just two-wheel drive. Something that a lot of people overlook when they're thinking about robot mowers is, well, it should just work like a push mower. Sort of, but not really. The big limitation on robot mowers, and having a lot of experience with mowing, I used to mow people's grass when I was growing up and stuff, so got a lot of experience with we had an old regular push mower with no self-propelled, so you were the self-propelled. I do have a zero-turn country clipper mower, and you can see back there a Murray riding mower right there. This is a Jazzy country clipper mower. It's an older model, I'd say 2010, something like that model. It's a pretty good mower. Biggest issue with me is every time I want to mow or something, and today's a perfect example, it had freaking rained, and today's a Saturday, so I wanted to mow. Let's say I wanted to mow today. Well, I'm not going to mow today because it's all wet out, and definitely makes a mess, and crashes the mower, makes it real, muddy, tracks up your yard, everything like that. Now these robot mowers obviously aren't going to be a whole lot better in this situation, so I'm not going to say that you can mow in the rain with them, which you you definitely can. You can mow with a regular mower in the rain too if you want, just why you're going to plug stuff up. These mowers, what they have, each of these mowers have a rain sense function on them. So if it's out there mowing you can set it on a schedule, or you can tell it just to go mow you use a phone to control the mower. That is a big thing, that these mowers are kind of nice, but I guess if you're not really tech oriented, it might frustrate you. But at being somebody that has some technical knowledge, at least enough to run a mower, it's not rocket science. If you know how to use a desktop computer or smartphone or tablet, you can probably figure this mower out. It's really not that complicated. Like I said, I think I say older person, we'll say up 60s or something like that, that has some capabilities, that knows how to use a smartphone, somewhat competently, this probably won't be a huge struggle for you to use. Now, on the other hand, if you're somebody that is wanting a mower just to mow your yard and you don't want to have to do anything with it, probably not the best setup for you. This is obviously, that's why mowing companies and stuff exist. They can do things when you're busy or don't have time to mow. My situation, like I said, I work full-time. A lot of it's just, for me, it's just more convenient to have these things mowed for me. And it's not necessarily because I'm lazy. It's just the convenience factor. It just works for me. So with that said, to each their own. If you don't like the fact that it's doing a job that you can do in, we'll say 5 minutes in 2 hours, probably not the mower for you. These mowers are not fast. They go, I think max speed is probably about 3 miles an hour. You can walk faster than these mowers go. And most people can. Like, it goes to speed about a 1-year-old kid crawling. Like, just just like that. They're shuffling, or like an old person shuffling their feet, and nothing against old people. That's just, it's slow. They aren't super fast, but they do a fairly decent job of mowing. All right, so next thing I guess I'll talk about is the app. The app is, like I said, you got to download it on your phone. You need to install things. The setup process is actually pretty easy. It comes with this giant piece of paper that looks like a newspaper, and it's got big pictures, step by step, on what things to do. I mean, you'd have to be pretty ignorant not to figure it out. Like, as long as you know how to use your phone, the setup process isn't terrible. The hardest thing, I think, for a lot of people was, they have a QR code, and I can actually show it to you on this. We'll take you off the stand here. I'll shut my little rotating guy off here. I can actually show you this. Okay, we'll give you an up close of the mower here. Let me get my whole hand in the shot. Get down low here. Okay, so this is the 2-wheel drive Landroid Vision Cloud mower. It's a 320.1 model. I don't know why it's a 0.1 model. Something must have changed. This does a 1/2 acre. Something that I need to clarify, when they say it does a half acre, that means entire mapped area of a half acre. You cannot do 1/2 acre and then keep going into more. It tops out, like when your map is like, basically if the map is a 1/2 acre of like you driven it around, or it auto mapped 1/2 acre, that is the max it can do ever. You cannot add more to it and tell it to mow it at a different time. It doesn't work like that. Had I have known that when I purchased this mower, or was going to purchase this mower, I probably would have not bought this mower. And it's nothing against the mower. It was an error on my part. I didn't quite understand how it worked. My understanding was it can mow a 1/2 acre a day. No, that's not what it means. It means that it can mow a 1/2 acre total. The whole area it can mow can only be a 1/2 acre. Anything more than 0.5, which is 1/2 acre, it will not mow more than that. I have tried it. I have about 0.7 acres here, and it was frustrating because, like I said, I'm 0.2 acres over the limit of this mower. It was so frustrating, which is why I ended up getting the 4-wheel drive mower, and there were some other reasons behind that, but again, that'll be in the 4-wheel drive video. I'll try to keep this one focused more on this one. But again, this mower, my expectations were questionable because I had no idea. Never owned a mower like this before. Didn't know anything about robot mowers, but I always thought they were interesting. And everybody will like, is it like a Roomba vacuum cleaner? Nothing against Roombas. No brand affiliation there or anything like that. But it's smarter than one of those. That's all I can say. The nice thing about these is it uses GPS tracking. That's what the Vision Cloud is. They also have a Vision model. Don't get the two confused. The Vision model is probably more like the Roombas. It kind of bounces back and forth and does random stuff. The Vision Cloud models, which are more expensive, and quite frankly, they weren't cheap. And this is kind of on the, is this really a budget video, Scott, at this point? No, it is not, unfortunately. This is actually an expensive investment. You can buy, for the price of the two mowers I bought, you can buy a fairly decent riding mower. It was a little over $3 grand for both these mowers. Sorry, spitting all over myself. But anyway, I can show you, like I said, back to the mower itself rather than rambling on about what it can and can't do. Again, this is a full review of the mower. I will be telling you the pros and cons of this mower. I would give you a demonstration, but it's the grass has actually been mowed, so it's going to be kind of hard to prove it to you how good it does or what it does. I'll walk around the yard, kind of show you what it's mowed and what it hasn't mowed, and then you'll get an idea of, oh, it can't do that, or why doesn't it do that, or oh, it does that. You know, just different ways to think about it, and to get the right mindset. It is not a complete all mower. It doesn't do absolutely everything. One of the big things is, a lot of people don't think about it. This mower does not trim close to things. It has a cut to zero function, but if you have trees, plants, inanimate objects, like, a building, for example, it only gets so close to them. If there's not a straight 90-degree edge on a building or something like that, it will leave stuff not cut. Or if there's something close to it, close to an edge of something, it tends to avoid it because it's all part of its safety protocol, so it doesn't run stuff over, or at least in theory it shouldn't run stuff over. I have had some instances where they don't always detect objects perfect, but overall, I'm going to say 95% of the time it does a pretty good job. Sometimes it can be a little bit frustrating because it does things you don't think it should be doing. But there's also a learning curve for these mowers. Since they are GPS, it does have to figure out where it needs to go sometimes. So it might do some really random things like spin around in the yard, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And you're like, what is it doing? Why is it doing this? I believe it's just because it's trying to resync with the satellite or whatever, trying to figure out where it needs to go. Or there's a over cover, of trees or building overhang or something, and it needs to figure out where the satellite is before it can continue on its mowing path. The nice thing about these newer mowers, and a lot of people would talk about the old ones, the old, I think they were still called a landroid, but anyway, the first versions of these, they had a perimeter wire that you had to bury in the ground. You don't have to do any of that with this. This literally, you can drive it around on the edge of your property or mowing area, wherever you're mowing, and you can drive it around manually. It has an auto mapping function, but honestly, unless you have a pristine yard with crisp, clean edges, it doesn't follow it very good. The manual mapping, your cell phone turns into a remote control, almost like a remote control car. You know, you have an up and down joystick, and then you have a left and right joystick, and then you can drive it all the way around your property and map the edge of your property or the mowing area you want to mow. And you can split it up into multiple sections if you decide that you don't want to mow the whole section at one time, or vice, you know, just you can customize it basically however you want for the most part. There are some limitations. The other thing I'll get into, like I said, once you map your zone, then yes, you can it'll drive. You have to take it back to the docking station or charging station, and it has to resynchronize. And then you can hit the play button essentially, and then it will. You have to select the zone you want it to mow, and because it'll automatically assign each zone either a number, or you can rename the zones to, you know, house or barn in my case, and it'll go mow the area wherever you're selecting. Or you can set it on a schedule and say, hey, I want it to mow at. And that's the other party trick of these mowers, in a way. If you purchase on the two-wheel drive one, I don't know if they come with them, any of them. If you purchase a light, they make a nighttime light mowing kit. I bought it for this one just because, well, it's easier. Because when I get home, it's, you know, already it's 6 o'clock, and it would be dark by the time these things are done mowing. They're not that fast. Again, if you're looking for speed, this isn't the mower for you. If you're looking for something that can do the job without you being present, it can do the job without you being present. Or if you'd rather be doing something else, say you're a busy person, or you're trying to multitask and do other things, but you don't have time to mow, this is a good option for you. That's honestly why I bought it, because I thought it was kind of neat to be able to say I want to work on my my green and black pickup over here. And I'm like, I really want to work on this truck today, but I need to mow. Well, I'll just go play, go mow, and then I'll go work on the pickup, and it just does it on its own. Now, it might take sometimes a ridiculous amount of time, like 8 hours to mow an area, but I'm not there doing it. I'm not sweating my butt off, you know, working on or trying to mow it, and don't have to worry about fueling up with gas and things like that, or the mower not starting or things like that. Not saying that these can't have problems, because I'm sure they will at some point. They are, you know, human-made, so they can develop problems just like anything else. But trying to summarize a little bit better, we'll get into the mower a little bit closer. I'm not going to do a full review of the mower itself, just because it's a mower. I mean, there isn't a whole lot to look at. I'll kind of give you the basic features of it. There are some things that I can't show you because there's like a pass key and stuff. So due to privacy reasons, I'm not going to be showing you what my pass key is, just in case you happen to know where I live. And yeah, we don't want the mower getting legs and walking away. I mean, it technically has wheels, but you know what I mean. They're not something you just give away. We'll just put it that way. Anyway, let's get into the mower a little bit closer. I'll give you this round white part here. This is the GPS module, so it goes off the cloud. You might notice this looks like a lot like what they have on top of tractors and stuff. Very similar technology, and probably the same technology, because it works. You can. That's the other thing. When these things mow, you can tell them to mow in a random pattern, which is what the original ones used to do, and they were very inconsistent and didn't do amazing jobs. That's why a lot of people would gripe and complain about these things, because they just bounce around randomly, and it just like, what are you doing? You're just going over there, and now you're going over here. These ones have what they call a parallel line option. You can turn it basically, I think, 180 degrees on a map. So you can make it mow 90 degrees, you can make it about 0 degrees from the starting point or whatever, or 45, 32, whatever. You can switch it all the way up to 180 and back, and which is, I think, 90. Well, you can go over 90 degrees, but anyway, you can make it mow whatever direction you want, and it will mow back to forth, like if you're pushing with a push mower or a riding mower. So it does a nice job, actually. That is one big benefit of these Vision Cloud mowers. The Vision mowers, I think, can do it, but I can't say for certain, as I don't own just a Vision mower. Both mine are Vision Clouds, and they both work off GPS, so that's a big benefit. Okay, so now onto the mower itself. First, I'm going to shut the mower off. Okay, and when you go to shut the mower off, it's going to ask you for a passcode. You can customize your passcode. In this case, I had, just because if somebody feels like they need the mower more than me, Well, it sucks to be you. You ain't getting the mower because now you can't turn it on because there's a passcode. It's like a padlock. It won't. You can't just up and take this to somebody and be like, here, you can use this mower. It's kind of locked to you. You can transfer ownerships of these mowers through the app. There's a way to go through it and tell it that say you gifted it to your mom and dad for Christmas or something like that, and because you used it and it wasn't quite right for you, but you think, hey, my parents have a really nice yard. And that's honestly what these two-wheel drive mowers are for. They are for flat level, nice kept yards. This yard is a farm yard. It is rough. The biggest Achilles heel on this two-wheel drive mower is crushed rock and dirt areas where grass hasn't grown. And perfect example, this area here, it hates mowing this area. It will just sit there and can't figure out what to do. It'll drive around it. It thinks it's like apparently thinks it's like a lake or something. I don't know. But it does not like to mow that area. And the four-wheel drive model is no exception, unfortunately. They still do it. There is a workaround for it. They call it a no vision zone. So essentially, when you set up a no vision zone, which it's annoying, it's one thing in the app that I think they need to improve on. Worx, if you're listening or watching, fix this. This would be so much easier if you fix this. It would make it a much better app, honestly, and it would definitely open up a lot more capabilities for this mower. And I don't understand why they don't. They really should make it this way. Okay, if you want to set up a no vision zone, you have to do, it makes like a box, almost like when you're using like Microsoft Paint or something like that, where you can click and you can make a box. You can drag it, make it bigger or smaller. Or you're doing this on a mapping app, and you have no idea how big that actually is in real life. So you have to play with it. And the problem with the no vision zone is the mower will mow into almost anything in its path when the no vision zone is set up. So I found out this out the hard way with the four-wheel drive mower, which it was a dumb thing on my part. I was looking at the map wrong. I had accidentally set the no vision zone on the wrong side of this white barn over here. And you see that pickup sitting there, and there's a trailer behind it. Well, I wanted to mow, okay, so there's a carport over there, you can kind of see with that little black thing in the middle there. There's a little area right in between the barn and that carport that can be mowed. Well, it won't mow it because there is overhang from trees and shrubs and stuff over there. You can run a mower through there, a regular riding mower or a push mower, because, you can push through the trees and stuff, but the vision mower was like, the vision cloud mower is like, nope, there's a tree branch there, I can't go there, even though it technically can. So I set up a no vision zone there, I thought. Well, it turns out it was this side of the barn where the truck and trailer are parked. Well, the four-wheel drive one got itself stuck underneath the trailer because it got stuck underneath the ramps because it just kept trying to go. Because the no vision zone essentially shuts off its proximity awareness, if you will, and it sort of just runs into stuff, which is not the best idea, but I understand in certain situations it does work. However, once I figured out my dumb mistake, I set it on the right side of the building. I made a little pathway there in a no vision zone. I did, the square, make it longer, shorter, whatever, rectangle, whatever, you can only do a square. Anyway, I set the pathway in between on the right side of the building, and it works pretty good, honestly. It'll go underneath there for the most part. It will stop if it sees like a tree branch. Typically, it'll run into it, and then it kind of goes, oh, I can't go this way, and then it like backs up and kind of maneuvers itself around it, which I had also done over by the road ditch, by the road over there. I set another no vision zone there because there's a lot of trees kind of growing in towards the ditch area. Anyway, you can't really mow underneath those trees anymore because the branches are hanging over so far. You can't even really get a push mower underneath there. That is one thing that is a nice benefit of these mowers, maybe more so on the four-wheel drive model, because it's a little bit more capable. It can mow over here's a good example. See how tall this kind of grass is. Most robot mowers do not mow that stuff. It doesn't, the vision sensor camera, it gets mad when it sees tall grass like that and it won't mow it. So, something to keep in mind if you're buying one of these, you need to mow your grass first. Mow it with a regular lawnmower, mow it low, mow as much as you can. Trim the edges, do everything. The more you mow, the better job these mowers do. And you're saying, well, what's the point of buying one if you have to do it yourself? As long as you keep the schedule consistent on the robot mowers, they do a good job. That is one thing that I will say. They do a good job. They, like I said, I guess we can go. Like I said, well, we'll get into that a little bit. I'm jumping around trying to think of multiple things to talk about here. So anyway, we'll get back to this mower here. I'll kind of go over it, try to stick on this first, and then we'll kind of give a walk around of what it's been able to mow. I'll show you what this one is mowed, and again, in the next video, I'll show you what the four-wheel drive one does. There is a difference. In my personal opinion, the four-wheel drive one is the one to go with if you have a rougher yard like I do. If you have a nice yard and you live in town or don't have a very big yard, this two-wheel drive one works great. Honestly, if you don't have a high demand for this mower, the two-wheel drive one is just fine for you. But in my case, it's a little bit more. It can do about, this two-wheel drive one can do about, we'll say 90% of the yard without too many issues. But when you get into slopes and crushed rock and rough areas, which there's a lot of in this yard, it does struggle a little bit. But it can do a fair amount of the yard fairly good. I won't say it does a perfect job, but it does a pretty darn good job. So anyway, let's get back to the actual mower itself. So sorry if you guys are waning on attendance or paying attention, but I'm trying to be as thorough as I can be, so I apologize if I repeat myself or talk about things that maybe aren't super relevant to you. But this is an honest review from a normal guy. Like I said, this is I do not have a Mercedes-Benz or a real fancy car sitting in the driveway here. All my stuff. I mean, those things back there are the fanciest things I own. The motorcycle and then the truck behind it. And you're probably thinking that's not really that fancy, but what I'm trying to get at is I'm an average person. I'm a mechanic. That's what I do for a living. And I always thought these robot mowers were interesting, so I decided to finally bite the bullet. Like I said, I'm not a rich person. And these were a bit of an investment, but you do the math, and one of these mowers, if you were to pay somebody around here, it'd be about $60 to come out and mow your yard. And that's like a mom and pop operation running mowers off of their trailer and just trying to make money on the side. You hire a professional company, they'll probably charge you more. But anyway, if you're just trying to hire your neighbor's kid to come mow your grass, and that's about what they would charge you to do it. And I only know this because I at one point had somebody coming out doing that for me, because that mower there broke a deck belt, and I had a hard time getting one. They just took forever to show up, and there's no local dealers that sell those mowers around here, unfortunately. Anyway, about $60 to mow. This mower cost, shipped to me, about $1,700. And they're probably going, whoa, that's expensive. It is. That mower there was used. I didn't buy it new. It was about $1,600. At the time, that was quite expensive, I thought, for a mower. Zero turn, it's a joystick control, which is a little finicky, different from what most people like, but it does the job. The only problem is sometimes it doesn't like to start, deck belts break, stuff like that, and I was kind of getting frustrated with it. So I was always looking for an alternative. Well, I have this other mower here. That one, it's an okay mower. I finally actually just got it back from the mower shop a couple days ago. He had it sitting there for 2 months, and granted, he has other things going on. I told him it is no hurry. It's not a main mower. It's an extra mower. Get to it when you get to it. It's out there for 2 months. He finally gave it back to me, and he charged me like nothing for the thing to get it fixed, which it had needed some valves. The valves needed to be adjusted on it, and you're probably saying, you're a mechanic. Well, I'm not really a small engine person, so I didn't really know what I was doing with this thing. Plus, finding the specs on these old mowers is actually kind of hard. Anyway, he went through it. The brakes didn't work on it. I got this. This actually came from my uncle. He had it had some electrical problems, so he quit using it. It wouldn't start, and I got to start and stuff, but it was popping and banging, doing all this weird stuff, surging real bad, and wouldn't run right. And insert the the Landroid Vision Cloud mower. This is why I got it, because they're getting kind of tired of dealing with just finicky lawnmowers. So I was like, let's try this. Anyway, I said $60 a session to mow, and I live in the Midwest, Nebraska specifically. And according to Google, so take that for what it's worth, there's apparently about 30 mowing days in a year here. So we'll just say a month solid everyday mowing. And $60 a time, do the math, it's about, I'd say about $1,800 a year to mow. That's what you give to a mom and pop
kid mowing your yard. So, and you're saying, well, you could just do it yourself. I'm like, you're right, but you still got to pay for gas. You still got to pay for maintenance. Belts, tires, my case, a carburetor, spark plugs, that sort of things. Wear and tear on the mower, sharpen blades, all that sort of stuff, replace blades, all those sort of things. That adds up, especially when you got an oddball mower like I do. And I said, it's not a bad mower. It's actually a very well built mower. I believe they're built in Missouri. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, and correct me if I'm wrong if you happen to know about these mowers. I bought this on a Facebook Marketplace from some guy, about 20 miles from here. And it was probably one of the cheaper zero turns. I liked it because that has a tilt deck on it. Anyway, I never really utilized it like I thought it was going to. Anyway, these entered the chat pretty quickly. I mean, I've only had that mower for a couple years, so I'm not a fan of mowing, never have been. It's just, I don't know, just not something I like doing. Some people enjoy it. Some people think it's therapeutic. I jump on that mower and I am just quick, back fork, back fork, back fork, back fork, done, off, jump off the mower, go in the house, done. Don't want to deal with it anymore. I'm not the guy that's over here going, oh, I gotta, edge the yard, and oh, I gotta go do this, and that's not me. I don't do that stuff. This mower is kind of a, I don't know, overlap for that, for the person like me that doesn't like mowing. So anyway, we'll get back to the mower. Again, like I said, I know I'm going to be rambling a lot, but again, real guy, real world view, and somebody that doesn't particularly like mowing, this is this perspective, at least from my point of view. So anyway, back to the mower. I shut the mower off. Like I said, you got to put your pass key in to turn it off and turn it on. And so if somebody were to come here, pick the mower up, set it in the back of their truck, and take off and go, I got a free mower, ha ha ha. Well, two problems. One, you don't have the charging dock. And I'm not saying you should steal things, because definitely don't do that. That's terrible. You're a terrible person if you do that, so shame on you if you do that. And you should feel bad about it, because people spend their hard-earned money on this stuff, and you're just being a bum and taking people's stuff, so don't do that. Anyway, charging dock and mower, I believe, are a paired unit. You might be able to buy another charging dock, but I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, every time to turn the mower on and off, you have to enter a pass key. And there are only 4 buttons on this control panel. I'll tell you, but the front-facing camera is going to make it difficult, so I'll just tell you what it is. From left to right, there are 4 buttons. They're just like a soft touch, kind of like, almost like your microwave buttons, like that style. They're not actually like physical clicky buttons. So you have your power button all the way on the left. Next to it is a start and up arrow. It's a combo button. And then next to it it's a house with a charger plug in the middle of it, and then a down arrow. That is, I'll explain that in a second here. And then one on the far right, it says OK and set. So first one, power button, self-explanatory. Turn the mower on, turn the mower off. Hold that. If you want to shut the mower off, you shut it off, it'll say enter pass key, hit OK, the OK set button. Then it does a countdown. I don't know, it depends on the mower. One of them, it's very random. Like one time was 10 seconds, another time was 5 seconds. I don't know why it does that, but it is what it is. It takes a little bit for it to shut down. I suppose maybe it sends data to the mapping area before it shuts off, possibly. Anyway, it shuts off. You can turn it back on. Enter the key code. Then there is a start function, which if the mower has an error, if it bumps into something, lifts a wheel, gets tipped upside down for some reason, say it runs up on a weird slope, and gets hung up, backs into something. Two-wheel drive model is unfortunately a little bit prone to getting stuck in areas, especially if there's rough, uneven areas. Like in my case, the road ditch over on the, I know this doesn't make any sense to you guys, but the far side of the yard over here, the road ditch has a lot of gravel and stuff in it, and rainwater washes down into the ditch, and it makes a lot of ruts. So this mower likes to get stuck. So that road ditch is, I put it in a no-mow zone, which also I have the house set up in that, and then of course all surrounding driveway and stuff, so it isn't trying to mow the driveway, because it apparently doesn't really care when it's driving on concrete if it's mowing, which that's kind of different, but that's another thing with them. Anyway, if it runs into an error, it'll set essentially a code, which I don't know all the codes off the top of my head. There's a list, I'm sure, what each one means. they're like, like an I7 code. Like, I don't know what that means. Or an I9 code, which, one probably means a wheel lifted, or vehicle is, or mower is stuck. Mower is unable to continue on route, or battery is dead. Things like that. I've had the battery go dead on me once, and that was because the mower got stuck on the backside of the barn, and that was this mower. There's a lot of tall grass and a lot of overgrowth back there, and not exactly a super hospitable place for a robot mower, unfortunately. Even a regular mower would struggle back there, at least before I mowed it. With that said, it is able to mow most of the area back there. And that's impressive for this mower, I will say that much. Because this mower was, I seriously doubt it was ever designed to mow anything like I'm mowing here. There are some areas, like the front yard, that's like your typical, like this nice level area there. It mows that just perfect. All this area back here, this nice level area, sure, it can mow that just fine. Doesn't have any issues with that. Anyway, with that said, well, I'll kind of show you a little bit of how it works, I guess. Okay, you got this battery door cover here. You'll see up here, there's this little, we'll call it a QR code. And I'm not zooming in on it because, I don't know, somebody might be able to steal my mower somehow that way. There's a QR code that you scan the QR code with your phone when you're setting things up. Now on the inside here, I don't know if you can see it super good, mainly because I'm not able to see what I'm pointing at. There is a USB port right here. And that is, I guess you use that if you do not have an internet connection. It is supposed to be able to do updates for you or any sort of service-related thing. I think related to, I suppose if you talk to Worx or something and they're like, oh yeah, you're having a bug issue, let's upload a software or something for it, and they're able to fix it for you. Anyway, as far as the battery goes, this is one of the big reasons I bought this mower. This is the battery it uses. This is a regular drill battery that all the Worx products use. I am not a Worx person. I've never owned any Worx products. Nothing against their products. They just aren't that popular around here. We get a lot more, Milwaukee, DeWalt, that sort of stuff. It's more popular around here. But however, saying all that, it works. This is a 5 amp hour battery. It's 12 volts. It has a charge indicator light on it like most batteries do. If you can even... Of course, you can't really see it because it's too dark. Anyway, it's like 75% charged, which is weird because it's on the charger. But anyway, it just slips back in here like so. Here, click, pull up on it, make sure you don't pop out, and you snap the lid closed. And if you hear a click, it means it's good. The one thing it will freak out if this lid is not clicked shut. It'll keep saying battery cover open until you click it. It'll even send you a thing on your phone to tell you that the battery cover is open. Since it is shut off right now, it's not going to freak out. Okay, something else on this mower. You'll see these two little, like, metal things, little bumps sticking up here on the top. That is the rain sensor. And it had just rained here. So, it will set a rain delay if you have the rain function shut off, or turned on rather. So it'll stop mowing. It'll basically be like, oh, it's raining, I got too much water on my sensor. So it'll turn around and come back to the charging station and wait for a set period of time, anywhere from 30 minutes up to, I think it's like 12 hours if you really want it to. And it will, I believe, continue mowing. I have never tried it, mainly because most of the time I just shut the rain sensor off because we get spotty showers here. I'm like, it rained for freaking 5 minutes, just go mow. Anyway, so it does work. The rain sensor part does work. It'll shut off and it does come back to the charging dock. There's no issue with the product there. It just works. It just does what it needs to do. Anyway, the edge cutting feature, or cut to zero as they list, not every single Worx robot mower has it. Originally, I was going to buy another model before this that only needed a 1/4 acre. Thank God I did not, because I would have had even more trouble with being able to mow the entire yard with it. Now, with that said, the cut to zero function is manually adjusted. It does not have an automatic lowering and raising, at least from my knowledge. It doesn't look like it does because it has a physical knob. It has a 1, a 2, and a 3 setting on it. So I believe 1 is for 1 inch, 2 is for 2 inch, and 3 is for 3 inch, I believe, but don't quote me on that. I'm not sure what the exact specifications on it are. I'll show you what I'm talking about right here. This is orange knob. You push and twist. That's 1. That's the 1 setting. And then 2, you can see how it pops up slightly. And then 3 is all the way up like that. I have it set on 2 currently because I typically mow the yard at like 2.6 inches. And you're probably asking why 2.6 and not 2.5. The mower is originally a metric mower, so it does everything in, I think, millimeters or centimeters. I forget what exactly. But for some reason, 2.5 inches doesn't work into their slide scale. So it skips 2.5 and 2.6. I'm like, whatever, it's 0.01, whatever, close enough. And in my yard, that's not that big a deal. So anyway, you do have to set a routine for it to do a edge cut. And that's when it does the cut to get 0 stuff. You can select it on the app to tell it to do an edge cut routine. Every time you do a mowing session, you hit start. You can do a one-time mowing session. So say you want to mow around the house, for example. I want to mow this area here. So you go select that on the map. I want to mow around the house, and then a little menu will pop up, and then there'll be a slider thing. It says edge cut routine, and it's normally off, and you can select it to be on, and it's an orange little slider bar thing. And when you select that, when it's finished doing the yard, it will go around the outside perimeter. I don't think it'll do the inside, like around buildings and stuff, which is kind of annoying. I wish that was something it would offer, but it apparently doesn't. Or if it does, I guess I've never really noticed it doing it. It's one of those things. It's not a quick mowing process. So unless you got an entire day to sit and watch the mower do its thing, you're probably not going to see everything it does. So just keep that in mind. It's not going to be done like this little area here in the middle of the yard. I have this set up on a zone. It takes about I forget, about 3 hours to mow it, we'll say, give or take. And you're probably saying, that's not very big. I could probably mow that in like 15 minutes with a 0 turn. You're right. But again, it's the fact that you have to go and physically do the stuff is kind of what the benefit of this is. Anyway, back to the mower itself. After we talked about the mowing thing, like I said, you can tell it what to do. You can set a schedule. You can tell it to mow from essentially... it's not you cannot mow. You can only mow in a 1-day cycle. You cannot continue mowing into the next day, unless it gets interrupted. Which by that I mean you tell it to stop, or the battery is charging, or something else pops up where you tell it to continue. If it's on a set schedule and if it finishes its mowing routine, it will go back to the charging station and stay there until the next scheduled mowing session is available. Or if you don't have one set up, it will just sit there until the next time you tell it to go and mow, which you hit the play button. And then it also has a home button. There'll be a screen. You have the home button, you have a play button, and then you have a pause button. The pause button is for if it encounters a problem or you need to go and manually control it to move it out of the way of something, or it got stuck and you need to move it due to that. That works pretty good. I've used it a few times. You can manually control the mower with it has a different, which is kind of weird. It has its own joystick. It's like almost like a video game controller joystick. So it'll do a whole 360-degree access and do left and right as well as forward and back, just with one joystick. The other function, when you're just driving it around doing a mapping zone, it has just up and down and then left and right, but 2 separate joysticks, like almost like a remote control car or a toy or whatever. It's kind of weird that they do that. The only difference is when you're doing the manual mode, when it's out doing a job, it gives you the option to turn the blade on. The only thing that I don't like about it, which I get it's probably a safety feature, in order to turn the blade on, the mower has to be moving and you have to do a sliding function like this with your finger to make it turn on. Every time the mower stops, the blade shuts off, which is kind of annoying if you're trying to do a delicate area and get around things. That is one thing that is kind of really, you guys could have done that a little bit better. But I suppose there are people that will get curious and try to pick the mower up, and then, I cut my finger off because there are 3, well, in this case 6 on this particular mower, 3 basically razor blades that cut the grass. It doesn't have a traditional blade like a lawnmower does. It uses a razor blade. And you're probably saying, razor blades? That can't cut anything. They do a fairly decent job. I won't say that they are the best thing in the world, but they do a pretty darn good job. It only does about a 12-inch cutting, at a time, so do not expect it to be fast. It is essentially walking around your yard and mowing with your weed eater. That is how fast it is. So keep that in mind. So if you're expecting a 21-inch cut or a 20-inch cut like a push mower, that's not happening. Lower your expectations. Again, when I first bought this mower, I was expecting push mower results. That is not what I got. But once it did its job, I'm like, you know what? Yes, it's not fast, and no, it doesn't cut that much at one time. But hey, it is mowing, and it isn't doing a bad job. The other thing I will say is kind of a con on this mower is if you have trees, there's a lot of trees around here, branches break off, sticks are in the yard, and 90% of the time, most people don't even think about it when you're driving a regular riding mower or push mower. You just mow right over the top of it, it shreds them up, and it keeps going. If the stick is protruding above the grass at all, the mower detects it and it will avoid it. It will drive around it as part of its obstacle avoidance thing, which is great because there are some times where you were working in the yard and you forgot you left a stake laying there, like a metal stake. It ain't going to run it over and shoot it out the thing and destroy the mower like you can with the actual, riding your push mower. Or, somebody left the garden hose in the yard or the dog leash. God forbid you run over one of those. Or a stake that's sticking out of the ground that you forgot about. It will, for the most part, avoid all of those, and it does a pretty good job about that. That is one thing I will say they do a good job about. They're good at obstacle avoidance. Now, will it get close to things? Most of the time, it gets pretty close, but never as close as you want it to. It'll always leave a little bit around stuff, and that's kind of what is a little bit of a limitation on this mower, unfortunately. With that said, like I said, it's a pretty good mower. If you're looking, again, my final thoughts on this actual mower is, and we're going to try to wrap this one up because, like I said, I'm going to make another video right after this one talking about the other mower. The final thoughts on this mower is, should you buy it if you have a place like mine? Overall answer, no. Reason, like I said, the reason being I stated, rough terrain it doesn't like. Crushed rock is its biggest Achilles heel. It does not like driving over crushed rock. And my house, where I live, rental property, like I said, I don't own it. There's a lot of, we'll call it kind of semi-buried crushed rock where the driveway is. And the second it sees crushed rock, it'll sit there and kind of like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it either skips it or avoids it, and it takes way longer than it should to mow the area. Again, that's where the no vision zone comes in when you can set those up. But not every area is ideal for a no vision zone. There are some places where it just doesn't work. With that said, yes, you can probably customize it a lot more and make it just perfect for your application. But overall, I say, unless you have a nice, clean yard that's not super rough or anything, again, it'll mow way more than it should probably. But overall, I would say if you're looking to get into a robot mower, unless you're specifically looking for a four-wheel drive one because you have hills and stuff, you could probably get away with just this two-wheel drive one. If you have a nicer property and you're able to maintain it with the mower like this. Again, there is some cleanup involved. If branches fall, things like that, you need to move them. It doesn't do it for you. Or if you got junk laying in the yard, you need to pick it up. You can't just leave it there, otherwise it'll never mow that area. Unless it's like buried into the ground and you can't even see it, then maybe it'll mow over it. But anyway, with that said, it does a pretty good job. Now I'm going to give you a quick walk around of the property of where it's been mowing. And I know some of you are going to be like, well, how you can't really see it. But with that said, it is mowed for a week and a half now. I've been telling it to mow just so it learns the area better. You can kind of see some areas where it's mowed because essentially everything other than the barn area, I have the four-wheel drive one mowing that area because it's a little bit more rough. It mows all this. Basically all this, where the tractor's sitting there. We'll walk that area. We'll walk this area. So I got you side by side with me now, so you're seeing what I'm seeing. Where that Ranger pickup sitting and mows all back there. It mows up to this tractor here and kind of sort of underneath it, and then around the wellhead here where that orange post is, and then it'll mow the center section here where this hydrant is. There's a fire pit over there. There's an old stock tank with some boards sitting on top of it, and then there's your electrical pole and your guide wire. It mows this whole area here, and then of course it mows this entire area. Pick up over here and mow this whole side yard. It mows all the way up. I don't even know if you can see it. There's a mailbox there at the far end of the yard, right by the road. It'll mow that, and then it actually mows all the way. You can kind of see where the grass gets taller. It needs to come and remow this again, but I think it's gonna be mowed on Sunday if I remember right, because I have a schedule set on that. It'll mow all this area here, and if you look real close, and I don't know if it picks it up on camera, you can see the lines where the tires are. So it does kind of like a neat, and it's essentially going this way the entire way around. So, and it goes all the way over there, and then it kind of stops about midway. It kind of slopes down towards the ditch. It stops there, and then the far section over there next to the road, that's where the 4-wheel drive mower is mowing. The areas it does have trouble with. This tree here, there was an exposed root. I bumped a bunch of stuff around it to try to prevent it. It doesn't like mowing areas where there's stuff sticking up above the ground. And this is a bad place because these, I don't know what kind of cedar trees, whatever kind of trees they are, conifer style trees, whatever you want to call them. See where there's all these there's bare spots? It doesn't like this area because there's no grass here, and it thinks it's driving on somewhere it's not supposed to be. And you can see areas like this up by the house where it didn't mow. See where all the tall grass is? It doesn't mow that area because if the grass is too tall, it doesn't know what to do with it. It thinks that it's a non-vision zone, so it won't, or not, it thinks it's a non-mowable zone, so it doesn't mow the area. Now, again, like I said, this is a pretty nice job. This tree here is a real problematic area. It drops a lot of branches and has problems like that. This tree over here got destroyed by a storm a couple years ago, and this branch has been here for a while. I've been meaning to cut it off, but it's one of those, you gotta have a ladder, and I don't have a ladder. Mows around this propane tank fairly good. I mean, you can see where, it obviously didn't get around to the bottom here, but it avoids a tree branch like that. I have a area set up here for it not to mow, because otherwise it tries to run into it. Here, this is a good example. See how the tree root sticks up here like so? If you can see that on the thing, you can see how it's been scalped a few times by lawnmowers and stuff like that. It stays away from areas like this, and then plus I got all this bark and things like that, because it's like I said, this tree is constantly dropping branches. It won't mow across here. The only way you can tell it to cross a driveway like this is you can tell it to you can do a pathway from zone to zone, which is important when you need to get it to go back to the charging station. That is one thing I did not mention. You have to have a pathway for the mower to go back to the charging station. Otherwise, you can drive it over here manually if you want to and map a zone and tell it to mow. It'll mow the zone, but the problem is after it completes or the battery goes low, which is typically what happens first, the battery goes low and it's like, I can't go back to the charging station. Even though, it's like, where the charging station is, it's over there. It's like, no, there's no pathway. I don't drive across two different zones, unless they're connected. So you